Hello dear friends, my name is brother Borislav, here today with us brother Gleb.
Hello, hello.
And sorry for not having videos for so long, and hopefully we will have them more often now. Hello Platon, it's our dog. We are in Spain, as you can see, you can recognize this wall behind us. We are located in Cathars spiritual center in Catalonia, nearby the ancient Cathar castle. And brother Gleb was the person who helped to Father John Bogomil to write his book about Zoroastrianism, or better to say, combination of Christianity and Zoroastrianism, as we believe Christ belonged to Zoroastrian tradition more than Judaistic tradition. And brother Gleb revealed a lot of information and some mysteries about Zoroastrianism, and we would like to ask him today to share with us some basics, maybe some introduction in the world of this mysterious spiritual tradition.
Ну, я могу говорить как.
Well, I can speak with the experience of that what I saw and read, and with the experience of our spirituality and practical using of the ideas of Zoroastrianism, which are close to us. And we can speak about it.
May I ask you a silly question? Why Zoroastrianism? What did attract John Bogomil in Zoroastrianism, and what does relate us to Zoroastrianism?
Zoroastrianism was not a goal, and it is not a goal of some kind of research of the spiritual way. Zoroastrianism is a consequence of learning of the archetype of our spirituality and of our religion. It is just a consequence of that consequence of our spiritual life, according to the tradition which is close archetypally not only to European people but also to Eastern people, of course to Slavic lands as Ukraine and Russia. They were under cultural influence and even spiritual and religious influence of Eastern
Indo-Iranian traditions.
Yes.
Sorry, Iranian tradition, because as far as I know, John Bogomil differs those two traditions.
Yes, not only John Bogomil differs, the common science about religion and historical sciences as well, they differ. But in this case, it's correctly to say Indo-Iranian Aryan traditions and cultures, they influence it upon population and our culture. And speaking about spirituality, why Christianity, why Islam? So it is so occurred historically that deep traces, qualities of personality were formed and understood through particular culture and walking on the way of self-learning and spirituality. We know in details the origins of these concepts, and they stay much far away than Christianity, and they do not go to abstraction. They have historical roots. We can feel it, and it is interesting.
It is considered that medieval Cathars were heirs of the Bogomils from the Balkans, who were related to ancient Manichaeism. Manichaeism was a form of combination of Christianity and Zoroastrianism. Moreover, the founder of the religion of Manichaeism, the prophet Mani, taught that Christ came from Persian Zoroastrian tradition, not
Yes.
from Judaistic tradition.
If we look at the origin and archetype of the Savior who brings the message and teaching which rescues the soul of person, if we speak in religious terms. Namely, Zoroaster predicted before all Jewish prophets the coming of Christ, who would be born from Virgin, the Savior, messenger from God the Father. It was direct prophecy of Zoroaster that so-called Saoshyant, the Savior, would come, who would bring the epoch and final victory over evil, the epoch of goodness, kindness, which is called in Zoroastrian terms Frashkart. This is eschatology. This is beginning of God-human being already.
There are 2 points of view at Zoroastrianism. The first one is that Zoroastrianism is proto-monotheistic religion, and the second point of view, in particular of Muslims in Iran, as an pantheistic pagan religion. That's why Muslims in medieval Iran committed genocide on Zoroastrianists. And the question is, which point of view has more sense to you?
I would say monotheistic in the sense of the singularity of the idea, because Zoroastrianism was very unique for its epoch, and its singularity was first of all in the manifestation of new God, Ahura Mazda, God of light, and his pantheons of small deities. They had already subordination to the Father, and here we cannot speak about equal polytheism of the Roman model, and to call it as paganism. Here there is respect of other deities or divine qualities in a human being, but first of all, the revolutionary idea, of course, it is one divine being and one Father.
Zoroastrianism is known as dualistic teaching, which confronts monotheistic or monistic teaching, which teaches that everything comes from one origin and there is no split on good and evil, which is not the case with Zoroastrianism, which has 2 opposite concepts of evil and good. And the essence of spiritual gnosis and growth in Zoroastrianism is understanding and distinction of good and evil. Is it true?
From the point of view of inquisitors, dualism was conclusion to judge someone in the heretic point of view. According to them, it was negative quality of Cathars.
Sorry for interrupting you, a little explanation. In monotheistic religions, in so-called Abrahamic tradition, there is no such concept as good and evil. There is concept of law and sin. It's interesting that many believers, both Christians and Muslims, usually use such concept as good and evil, not knowing that those do not belong to their original teaching. Both Christianity and Islam obviously absorbed those concepts from dualistic tradition.
Yes, the ethics of cosmogonic dualism and religious dualism, it's a distinctive feature of Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism doesn't go into philosophy of the battle between good and evil. Zoroastrianism definitely distinguish between good and evil and explain what is it. First of all, it is accomplished in your actions, but philosophy is not clear away from the point of view of Zoroastrians. That is why there are not so many philosophical tractates in Chinese Daoism, for example.
I'd like to add, would you agree? I think that there is a wrong understanding of dualism. Many put evil and good on equal scale. Especially it is common to modern spiritual movements such as, let's call them New Age movements. They understand good and evil through yin and yang competition between opposite sides. They say that there is room for everything, for good and evil, that it is all the oneness, where everything is balanced. Is it correct view?
The dualistic permanency or dualistic order of the world is accepted by European people, especially last 6 generations, through Hegelian dialectic. It prevails over the conscience of European people. Of course, Zoroastrianism doesn't accept the struggle of opposites, thus as it views modern people. These are not two opposite forces which balance each other, but just temporary phenomenon which will cease to exist at the moment of the final victory of good over evil.
There is one, the most frequently asked question. Where did evil originally come from? This question torments humanity during thousands of years. How does Zoroastrianism answer this question?
There is mythological cosmogonic legend of the origin of evil. It is the emergence of envy, let us say, in the global divine scale of divinity to creation. This is not Christian, but Zoroastrian.
The Islamic tradition also has similar myth.
This is like dark side of some good deed, which exists for some time, and we, sometime doing good deeds, we ourselves begin to doubt that our motivation could be enough, pure and sincere, and we start to make tests, mental tests for us. Maybe we ask ourselves questions accordingly, whether I behave sincere to this man or in this situation. That's why it exists. This is the temporary phenomenon, evil. It appeared as a consequence of creation, of the divine world, of the eternal world. And this temporary test, which man should pass through, and to take his own participation to win. We could agree with this, just to win.
Is evil abstract or personified? Because in Christianity it is devil or Satan.
Yes. First of all, the prototype of devil is Ahriman, evil spirit. This is evil being which fights against creation of the good spirit. This is not equal to Ahura Mazda, it is not equal to all good spirits, but it is quite strong spiritual being which is able to see in whose subordination is the army of evil spirits. Yes, it has its own personification even in the life of person. There are some people who, according to their actions, can be named evil.
What place does a man take in Zoroastrian paradigm?
The cosmogonical myth narrates that man makes a decisive key effort. This central key of the victory of good over evil, namely choice of each person, determines the destiny of all humanity and the destiny of all universum in general. And mythologically, this right, Ahura Mazda entrusted this right to man, to choose good or bad. In this, there is some kind of equality between good and evil. This equality of choice, of possibilities, man can choose one or another, but between them these forces are not equal. And the act of man has great importance in weakening of one force and strengthening the other. If we take a decision to move in the direction of good, we weakening evil, and this is our direct mission. And this is the very reply to the question about the meaning of life, which is to defeat evil. And in this, there is some certain messianism. Such a concept as a missionary is derived from Zoroastrianism. And it is not because of Zoroastrianism, but because of the true spirituality which leads to it.
The medieval Cathars had a teaching that the visible world and the earth in particular is mixed. Here, the good father is manifested as well as evil origin, or as they called it, Rex Mundi. Also a man can possess two origins which confront. Was it kind of interpretation of the original teaching of Zoroaster?
Of course, it's a consequence of the Armageddon or struggle unfolding on earth.
Because there is no such distinction in Christianity. Everything comes from the one.
Yeah, created by one, but there are temptress evil spirits. But in general, Christianity, and especially Gnostic Christianity, to which the Catharism is referred theologically, mostly it's a Zoroastrianism, which stands in opposition to Judaistic teaching, and it stands in opposition also to belief in multiplied deities. And Cathars, they were, let us say, Christ Zoroastrians, and we also say that we are not pure Zoroastrians, we are Christ Zoroastrians. And thus, as this world is mixed with evil, there were epochs of absolute good and of eternal life. And there were epochs when our earth was multiplied in good. In the mythological tradition, there is a term of as expansion and growth of earth. There were other epochs when evil triumphed on earth. And now there is an epoch of mixed order, where the main is the choice between good and evil.
Is the earth divine, or it is the devil's kingdom?
If it is the kingdom of devil, wouldn't be struggle. We believe in struggle and in victory. And we have strong existential orientation, which is victory of good over evil. This is optimistic eschatology, which belongs before Christianity to Zoroastrianism. It's a teaching about salvation of the world, about salvation of man, which came through Zoroastrianism. The earth is divine because here there is life, and life is good. Unfortunately, life is limited, and this is evil. Death is evil. By the way, it's the highest evil from the point of view of Zoroastrianism. And that death is the last enemy is not at all the original idea of false apostles, but it is the long-standing idea of Zoroastrianism.
Can you briefly name some spiritual levels in Zoroastrian tradition? Is there any kind of spiritual ladder, or it is like in classic religion, have faith and hope for salvation?
If we speak about Christ Zoroastrianism, here there are steps that we testify and practice. There are very many spiritual steps which are being achieved dependently on the level of consecration of man. It depends on him, in which scale he himself practices and applies the conscience of religious being, but to frame or to limit or to determine it, it is difficult.
I think we can speak about spiritual practice in other video. So, do we have contacts with modern representatives of classic Zoroastrian tradition, with those Iranians who follow Zoroastrianism? I know there are not many of them in the world, maybe few tens of thousands. Do you have contacts, and does it make sense?
Such contacts could be more reasonable in the case of changes of the fundamental principles of the Zoroastrianism. That in our time is unlikely. The Zoroastrianism, it's a religion in which you cannot be converted with the point of view of the carriers. It's non-proselytic religion. This is religion by kinship, but to be converted and pass through Geyer, you cannot. In the same Judaism it is possible, but the conditions are that Christ Zoroastrianism differs in this point, in principle. The Christ means the anointed one, chosen one. This is acceptance of chosenness to the special message. And man, when he is chosen, he should accept this chosenness to spiritual life and practically assimilate this way and be ready to follow the way of Zoroastrianism, the way of the fight against evil. Once more, the Zoroastrianism is not a goal. This is how we can call what we do in general and what belongs to our archetype and what is beautiful and is deeply understood and make order within depth of human consciousness.
Our spiritual master, John Bogomil, often use two metaphors. One is of mystical library, and second one is spiritual treasure house, which has a lot of chambers. Each of them contains plenty of spiritual treasure of different traditions. That very treasure house belongs to whole humankind, and only because of hierarchies of religion institutions, believers couldn't reach those chambers. That treasure house is universal and belongs to everyone.
Yes, it is very important not to socialize it with the images of Stalin or Lenin's Bolsheviks socialization of this treasury. It must be shown respect to it, because in our time we can often meet irresponsible plagiarism, using some eternal truths in favor of vanity, of some transient purposes, which we can see first of all in the city.
Well, we hope that our viewers and subscribers, in that case, are spiritual enough and have deep awe towards the spiritual path.
Yes, these are not jokes. This spirituality is that what irrevocably affects your life, your destiny, your consciousness, and your personality, and you cannot play with it without responsibility, use it as a childish whim. No. And that what is curious can be very harmful, and what is difficult to do and you wouldn't like to do, it could be extremely important and useful for you. That is why should be a respect out of feeling of your personal safety, first of all.
Yep, if you do not have every morning hygienic routine, you can get ill. If you do not regularly exercise, if you do not sports, your body will become weak. At the end of our conversation, I would like to ask you if you can recommend few sources where we can acknowledge ourselves on this subject. Maybe of John Bogomil.
Of course, it is John of Nightingale Mountain, John Bogomil. I would advise his book, which is called Christ Zoroastrianism. This is a book that summarizes a few years of deep research.
This book will appear right here.
Yes, of deep examination, study, and development, or as we believe, correct vision of Zoroastrianism and its history. If you want to read Zoroastrian literature, this is the only known original literature, the gods of Zoroaster, his hymns. Poetically, they are quite weak, and mythologically, they have interpretations in different sources and are more interesting. But these are sacred texts and are being read not for the sake of satisfaction of your consciousness, but for the learning the highest truths, revelations which are beyond our consciousness. They are sacred texts which should be read aloud, which we called prayers or mitras.
Would you recommend any of commentators of Avesta?
No, I would not advise to learn anyone. There are scientific works in the study of religion about Zoroastrianism, and here it all depends on your taste.
Symbolic Wikipedia.
Yes,
Do not read Wikipedia.
yes, do not read Wikipedia. And if you read,
Then you have to pass through deep catharsis.
and 1 week of fasting,
O kind Father, forgive me, for I have read Wikipedia and used it as evidences in my debates. It's terrible. Every self-respecting person feels shame of reading Wikipedia in past. Well, thank you for such interesting conversation. I hope we will have a chance to continue it.
it was a pleasure. I hope that we interested our listeners.
Leave your comments.
Your questions, and with joy we reply all your questions.
Feel free to suggest any topic you like us to enlighten together with Brother Gleb or other our bright Cathar apostles.
We speak about our brothers.
Dear viewers, I would like to invite you to share this video, to like it if you want, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free at the moment, but not for so long. Bye.